nested and inner class. So in Java, we may define a class within another class, and this class is known as a nested class. There are two types of nested classes in Java. First one is non-static nested class, and that's known as an inner class. And of course, the second one is the static nested class. So let's talk about non-static nested classes first. So non-static nested classes, or inner classes, may have access to all the members, such as static and non-static variables, methods of its outer class. Also, an inner class may access private variables and methods of its outer class. Static nested classes do not directly have access to other members, such as non-static variables and methods of the enclosing class, because it is, by its nature, static. I tell you what, let's clear it up by doing up some examples, and that'll help us understand it better. So in the Object-Oriented Programming project, just right-click on the source folder, select New, Class, specify the package name as Nested Class, and a class name as Static Nested Example. So let's start to write a program that accesses variables from the nested class. Okay, so let's declare a static int variable a with an initial value of 5. And let's declare a private static int variable b with an initial value of 10. Now let's declare a non-static variable c with an initial value of 15. Okay, so let's try to access these variables from the static nested class. Now we need to, of course, create a static nested class in this class. So let's create the static nested class that's named static nested class. So in this class, we create a void method, and we'll call that show. Now in this method, we can use 3 print methods. So in the first print method, we can access static variable a. In the second print method, we can access private static variable b. And in the last print method, we cannot access non-private static variable c. This statement gives a compilation error because the static nested class does not have, it cannot, it won't ever have direct access to a non-static variable. So, what do? We'll put a comment on this line. Okay, so let's create a new class for the test of the static nested class. Right-click on the nested class package, and then select New Class. Specify the class name as Static Nested Test, and then select the checkbox to add to the main method. Now, in order to access a static nested class, we first use the outer class, and then we use the dot operator and nested class. Outer class is static nested example, and the inner nested class is static nested class. So now let's create a nested object by using the new keyword. And we'll call up the show method to print the values of the variables. Okay, so let's run the code. And you see the values of the variables A equals 5 and B equals 10. So now let's do an example with inner class. Now, I always like to think of myself as having inner class. But let's create a new class. Right-click on the nested class package and select New Class. Specify the class name as inner class example. And then let's copy the declaration of the 3 variables from the static nested example class. Okay, now let's try to access these variables from inner class. We need to create an inner class for this class. So let's create an inner class that's named inner class. So in this class, we need to create a void method called show again. And we'll use 3 print methods. In the first print method, we can access the static variable A. In the second print method, we can access private static variable B. In the last print method, we can access non-private static variable C. This is an important point, right? In the static nested class, we couldn't have access to variable C, but we can access in the inner class, right? Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up. Let's create a new class for the test of inner class. So I click on the nested class package and select New Class. Specify the class name as inner test, and then select the checkbox to add to the main method. Now, in order to instantiate an inner class, we must first instantiate the outer class. Then create the inner object within the outer object. So let's create an outer object by using the new keyword first, and then we'll create an inner object. Okay, so let's run the code. And you see the values of the variables. A equals 5, B equals 10, and C equals 15. Excellent. Very well done.